The night split open with Emma's scream, raw and shaking through the rain-soaked alley. I spun, heart hammering, as Ryan stepped into the streetlight, his smile slicing through me like a blade. Emma sobbed, "You lied to me." Ryan laughed low, his voice steady. "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." My chest crushed under the weight of his words, and every memory of our friendship cracked. He stood with casual cruelty, his hand brushing Emma's shoulder. I wanted to shout, to tear the night apart, but silence drowned me. Emma whispered, "How could you?" Her words trembled like glass ready to shatter. Ryan's eyes met mine, smug, unrepentant, daring me to break. The rain blurred the world, yet every detail burned sharp, her tears, his grin, my disbelief. In that moment, I knew trust had been buried, smothered, and left to rot. I had lost more than love. I had lost my brother in spirit. Betrayal tasted bitter, metallic, like blood in my mouth. Emma clutched her coat, trembling, and Ryan's smirk widened, victory dripping from his expression. Lightning tore the sky, and I felt the scream build inside me, unspoken yet deafening. The silence after Emma's scream was worse than the noise. My mind rushed back to when Ryan and I were inseparable, laughing in the warmth of summers and daring each other to dream. Emma said, "You both promised me honesty." Her voice cracked, reminding me of the nights we sat beneath the stars, swearing we'd never break each other. Now those promises lay shattered at our feet, bleeding into the puddles forming in the alley. I wanted to hold on to the boy I once called brother, but the man standing in front of me was a stranger. Ryan said, "Don't act like you didn't see this coming." His words stabbed, cruel in their calmness. I searched Emma's eyes for comfort, but all I saw was pain, confusion, and betrayal. Memories flooded, Ryan and I building forts out of blankets, sharing secrets under dim lights, fighting for each other when the world turned cruel. I whispered, "We were supposed to protect each other." Emma's tears streamed as she murmured, "This isn't protection, this is betrayal." Ryan stepped closer, water splashing beneath his boots, and his gaze pierced me. He said, "I found something worth more than brotherhood." The words cut deep, leaving me gasping, searching for air as the rain pressed heavier against my chest. The rain hammered, but its noise couldn't drown the silence between us. My voice cracked, "After everything, this is what you choose?" Ryan's eyes hardened, and he replied, "I chose what you never had the courage to reach for." Emma's sobs twisted through the air like a haunting melody, and I felt years of trust dissolve into the gutter. My fists shook, but anger couldn't mask the grief bleeding through my chest. Lightning split the sky again, and I saw everything in a flash. Our childhood friendship, Emma's smile, and Ryan's hand where it didn't belong. Emma whispered, "I don't know who to believe anymore." Her voice broke me. Ryan sneered, "Believe what you see." I felt my chest tear open, the weight of betrayal heavier than the storm. In that moment, I realized this night had no heroes, only victims. The storm faded into memory, but the silence it left was heavier than thunder. I remembered summers when Ryan and I raced bikes through dusty streets, our laughter chasing us like wind. Emma had been there too, her smile softer than sunlight, and we thought nothing could touch us. Ryan once said, "Brothers forever, no matter what." His words lived in me like scripture, and I carried them as truth. Emma would laugh, leaning on us, whispering, "You two will never betray each other." Back then, betrayal was a word too sharp for our world. I saw us lying on rooftops under endless stars, dreaming of futures that kept us bound. Trust was the ground beneath my feet, and Ryan was the hand pulling me up whenever I fell. Now, in the shadow of rain and truth, those memories hurt more than his smile. They weren't just moments of joy. They were the threads of a life I believed in. Emma once said, "You'll always protect me." And Ryan swore he would too. I thought those promises were armor. Now I realized they were glass, fragile, already cracked, waiting for the fall. We had built fortresses from old sheets and wooden chairs, laughing as rain hammered against the roof outside. Emma snuck inside with hot cocoa, whispering, "Don't tell my parents." Ryan grinned, saying, "We're invincible." The fortress smelled of damp cloth and sugar, a kingdom of secrets only we knew. I looked at Ryan then, candlelight flickering across his face, and believed he would never hurt me. Emma fell asleep between us, her head resting on both our shoulders, and I thought the three of us were bound forever. Trust was not a choice, it was the air we breathed. Ryan said, "One day, we'll look back at this and laugh." And I nodded, because forever felt real. But the truth is, forever was already fading. The fortress collapsed in the night, and we rebuilt it in the morning, never thinking one day it would stay broken. I can still hear Emma's soft hum as the rain outside slowed, a lullaby of safety that I thought nothing could erase. Yet tonight proved how easily the strongest memories can be rewritten by betrayal. Nights on the rooftop were sacred. We lay side by side, stars stretching forever, speaking dreams too fragile to tell anyone else. Ryan whispered, "I'll never leave you." His voice was steady, convincing, and I carved those words into my heart. Emma pointed at constellations, her voice filled with wonder, saying, "We'll always be under the same sky." I believed her, even when we argued, even when life threatened to split us apart. The rooftop was our church, the stars our confessions. Every promise felt eternal in that stillness. Ryan told me, "We'll survive anything as long as we're together." And I trusted him more than I trusted myself. Looking back, I realized those stars weren't eternal. They were fading, collapsing in silence just like us. The same sky that once bound us now feels like a ceiling pressing down, mocking the promises we couldn't keep. The bond was tested before, small fights, jealous words, but always mended with laughter. Emma once accused Ryan of forgetting her birthday. He panicked, ran barefoot through town to buy her flowers. She laughed when he stumbled back, saying, "I'll forgive you forever." Alex watched with pride, thinking, "This is what love looks like." But tonight I realized those moments weren't proof of loyalty, just glimpses of masks. Ryan smiled then, but maybe even then he was hiding shadows. Emma glowed in her joy. Ryan grinned in his charm, and I believed everything was unbreakable. We stitched the cracks too quickly, never seeing the fractures beneath. If I had looked harder, maybe I'd have seen his hunger, his envy, his weakness dressed as love. Instead, I saw a brother. Instead, I saw safety. But safety was a lie. We promised each other eternity, and I believed it. Sitting by the river one late autumn evening, Ryan swore, "No one will ever come between us." His voice was strong, but now it feels like the cruelest lie I ever heard. Emma skipped stones across the water, saying, "We'll always belong to each other's stories." The river carried those words away, and I thought they would echo forever. I never imagined they'd drown in betrayal. Ryan's smile then was pure, his eyes warm, and I wonder if even he knew how easily he would betray his oath. Emma laughed, the sound rising like music over rippling waves, and I thought life was perfect. But memory is cruel. It replays innocence, even as it rots. Tonight, when Ryan smiled at me while stealing Emma, I realized eternity is not measured in promises. It is measured in how easily they are broken. The first crack came quietly, almost invisible, like a whisper buried in laughter. Ryan stopped answering calls, making excuses that felt rehearsed. Emma asked, "Is he avoiding you?" Her voice held both worry and doubt. I shook my head, lying to myself as much as to her. Ryan once said, "I'll never leave you hanging." Yet nights stretched with silence where his voice should have been. Emma lingered longer by his side, her gaze searching for something I couldn't name. I told myself it was nothing, but the weight in my chest grew. The bond that once felt unshakable now felt fragile, like glass waiting to break. I wanted to believe in us, to trust what we built, but Ryan's distance became a wall. I pressed my hands against it, begging for a door, but he kept it shut. Emma whispered, "Something's changing." She was right. Everything was. The excuses piled up like bricks in a wall. Ryan said, "I can't tonight. Something came up." His voice was flat, rehearsed, like he was reading from a script. Emma frowned, whispering, "He never used to be like this." I tried to defend him, clinging to the memory of the boy who always showed up. But even I could hear the hollowness in my words. Ryan's laughter, once shared with me, now echoed elsewhere. I caught fragments, his name with hers, whispers I wasn't meant to hear. Trust leaked slowly, like water through a cracked roof, dripping into every thought. Emma's silence weighed heavier each day, her smile fading when his name surfaced. I wanted to believe it was nothing, but denial was no longer enough. The bond was unraveling thread by thread, and I was powerless to stop it. Jealousy crept in quietly, like smoke under a locked door. I saw Ryan's hand brush Emma's arm during a joke, too casual to be innocent. She laughed, soft and nervous, not meeting my eyes. My stomach twisted, but I forced a smile. Ryan said, "Relax, you're imagining things." His grin was too sharp, his eyes watching me for a reaction. Emma bit her lip, whispering, "Don't start a fight." But the fight was already inside me. Trust was no longer blind, it was bleeding, raw, and open. Every moment with them together felt like a knife turning slowly. I wondered when friendship had shifted, when laughter had become a weapon. Ryan knew what he was doing, testing, pushing, waiting for me to break. And Emma, caught between us, trembled under a weight none of us wanted to name. Distance grew like rot in wood, spreading unseen until the structure collapsed. Ryan stopped calling me back, but Emma glowed when her phone lit up with his name. I caught the way her lips curved, soft and secret, and the knife twisted deeper. Ryan said, "We're just hanging out, don't make it weird." His voice was smooth, manipulative, daring me to challenge him. Emma whispered, "It's not what you think." But her trembling hands betrayed her words. Every shared glance between them felt like a wound carved into me. I screamed inside, but outside I smiled, pretending not to see. Trust was poison now, and I drank it daily, choking on the bitterness. I wanted to confront them, to rip the truth from their mouths, but fear of losing both held me silent. Silence, I realized, was killing me faster than betrayal. The unraveling was no longer hidden, it was painted in every look, every silence. Ryan once said, "Well, never keep secrets." Yet now he carried them like trophies, flashing them in my face without words. Emma's laughter had changed, softer, secretive, not meant for me anymore. I felt like a ghost at my own table, watching them build something on the ruins of us. Anger and grief battled inside me, tearing me apart. Ryan smirked when I caught his gaze, a silent challenge, daring me to break the illusion. Emma whispered, "Don't make me choose." But the choice had already been made. The cracks weren't cracks anymore. They were chasms. What once felt eternal was collapsing, and I was left standing on the edge, waiting to fall. The truth didn't explode with sound. It crept in with silence so sharp it cut deeper than any scream. I turned the corner and froze, Ryan's lips on Emma's. It wasn't a mistake, not a stolen glance, but a kiss with history behind it. My chest caved, air vanishing like smoke. Emma gasped when she saw me, pulling back with trembling hands. "Alex," she whispered, guilt spilling from her eyes. Ryan didn't flinch. His smirk was gone, replaced by something colder, defiance. He said, "You were never meant to keep her." My legs shook beneath me, as though the ground itself rejected me. Betrayal wasn't a shadow anymore. It stood in front of me, flesh and bone. The promise of forever shattered, replaced by silence that burned louder than thunder. I wanted to scream, but all that left me was a broken breath. My world narrowed into fragments. Emma's tears glistening, Ryan's steady defiance, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Emma whispered, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." Ryan's voice cut like steel. It was always going to happen. I staggered back, memories flooding, nights of trust, years of laughter, all turned into ashes by this single truth. I wanted to shout, to demand answers, but every word crumbled before reaching my lips. Emma reached for me trembling, but her hand felt like fire. I recoiled, choking on grief too sharp to swallow. Ryan stepped forward, eyes locked on mine, daring me to break. "You never saw it," he said, "because you didn't want to." His words struck like hammers, breaking bone that once felt unbreakable. I stood in silence, drowning in betrayal I could no longer deny. The twist wasn't just their kiss. It was the realization that I had been blind. Emma said, "I never meant to hurt you." Her voice cracked, but her eyes betrayed a truth deeper than words. Ryan smirked faintly, as if every moment had led here. He said, "You thought we were brothers, but I've been living in your shadow for years." His words burned, each syllable dragging me further into fire. My chest hollowed, my stomach twisted, and my hands shook with rage. Emma wept, torn between us, but even her tears couldn't erase the image burned into my mind. I felt every laugh we shared dissolve, every memory rot in real time. Trust had not been broken tonight. It had been stolen long ago, hidden beneath their smiles. And now I stood in the ruins, choking on the smoke of a friendship turned to ash. I wanted to believe Emma's tears, to believe Ryan's betrayal wasn't deliberate, but the truth dripped too heavy to ignore. Ryan said, "You never saw me because you never thought I could win." His eyes burned with envy. I had been too blind to see. Emma sobbed, "Stop this, both of you," but her words were small against the storm between us. I remembered all the times I pulled Ryan from fights, defended him when others turned away, and realized he had carried this resentment all along. Every smile had been a mask, every promise a trap waiting to spring. The knife twisted deeper as I understood. Betrayal wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. My voice broke as I whispered, "You were supposed to be my brother." Ryan's silence answered louder than words, his defiance an echo of everything lost. The world tilted, and I realized there was no going back. Emma whispered, "Please, Alex, don't hate me." But her words fell heavy, unable to heal the wound already carved deep. Ryan said, "Hate me if you want. At least I was honest tonight." His honesty was cruelty, sharpened and deliberate. I stared at them, my vision blurring with tears, and felt years of trust rot inside me. Emma's sobs grew softer, almost pleading, but Ryan's silence was heavier than any apology. He had taken more than love. He had stolen my brotherhood, my safety, my belief in loyalty itself. I whispered, "You both killed us." The words tasted like blood, final and cold. In that moment, I knew nothing could mend what had been destroyed. The truth wasn't just betrayal. It was the end of everything we had been. The storm within me erupted, no longer restrained by silence. My voice cracked as I shouted, "You betrayed everything we were." Ryan smirked, his tone venomous. "We were nothing but a lie you clung to." Emma cried, "Stop this, please," her sobs cutting through the night like glass breaking. But her words couldn't stop the fire igniting between us. Ryan stepped closer, his chest heaving with unspoken rage. I felt my fists clench, not just at him but at the years wasted in his shadow. "I carried you when no one else did," I roared. "And this is how you repay me?" His laughter was sharp, cruel. "I never asked for your pity." The tension grew unbearable, lightning flashing above as if the heavens themselves raged with us. Emma's tears fell harder, her voice trembling. "This will destroy you both." She was right, it already had. The air felt like fire, my breath ragged as fury consumed me. "You destroyed us," I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. Ryan's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing with venom. "No," he hissed, "I freed myself from you." Emma sobbed, grabbing my arm. "Don't do this, Alex." But the storm had already broken inside me. Ryan's face twisted as he said, "She chose me because you were too blind, too weak." The words cracked through me like thunder, each syllable tearing flesh from bone. My voice shook. "I gave you everything, and you chose to burn it all." Emma screamed, "Both of you will lose," but neither of us heard her anymore. Rage drowned reason, Loyalty drowned love, and all that remained was the raw sound of betrayal screaming back at itself. The storm broke into shouting, words sharper than knives. "Why? You are my brother," I roared, my voice raw with pain. Ryan snarled, "You never saw me as more than a shadow." His eyes glistened, rage laced with years of resentment. Emma fell to her knees, sobbing, "You'll kill each other." But her pleas vanished under the roar of anger. I pushed forward, my chest colliding with Ryan's, the air crackling with violence. His grin vanished, replaced by hatred so sharp it cut through me. "I took what you loved because you never deserved it," he spat, and my world shattered. My fists trembled, begging for release, but Emma's broken sobs pinned me in place. Storm was no longer outside, it lived in us, exploding in every word, every glance, every breath we fought to take. The silence between words was heavier than the shouting. I whispered, "You were my family," my voice shaking with grief. Ryan leaned closer, eyes burning. "Family doesn't chain you." Emma cried, "This isn't you, Ryan," but he ignored her. My breath came ragged, every heartbeat like a drum of war. "You killed everything we were," I spat, tears mixing with rain. His expression twisted into something almost satisfied. "I killed the lie," he growled. Emma reached between us, trembling. "If you fight, you'll both lose me forever." Her voice cracked, but we were too far gone. The bridge of brotherhood had collapsed, and all that remained was rubble under our feet. The storm reached its peak, no longer words but raw destruction. Ryan shouted, "You lost because you were blind." His voice cracked, but his defiance didn't waver. I screamed back, "No, I lost because I trusted you." My fists finally swung, striking air as Emma pushed between us, her sob echoing through the storm. She cried, "Stop, you're tearing me apart." But the truth was, we were already torn beyond repair. Ryan's eyes glowed with fury, mine burned with grief, and Emma's broke under the weight of both. The climax wasn't fists or screams, it was the silence that followed, heavy and suffocating, as 3 lives collapsed in one night. The friendship that once saved us had now destroyed us, leaving nothing but shards that cut deeper with every breath. The fight left me hollow, every word, every shout drained into silence. Emma sat trembling, her sobs fading into whispers that no longer begged us to stop. Ryan turned away, his shoulders stiff, but I saw the weight in his eyes. I wanted to believe he felt guilt, but his smirk lingered even in defeat. I whispered, "We'll never be the same." Emma lifted her face, red from tears, her voice shaking. "You've both destroyed everything." Ryan muttered, "It was already broken." His words stabbed again, final and cold. I realized then that the friendship was not merely hurt, it was dead, buried beneath betrayal and pride. My chest ached, not with rage, but with loss too heavy to carry. I no longer stood in a storm of anger, but in the ruins of something I once called home. Silence filled the space where laughter used to live. Emma whispered, "I can't look at either of you." Her voice was quiet, fragile, like something already broken. Ryan shifted, saying nothing, his eyes locked on the ground as if answers lay there. I whispered, "We promised forever," my throat burning with bitterness. Emma's sobs deepened, and she said, "Forever doesn't survive betrayal." Ryan finally spoke, voice sharp, "Stop pretending this wasn't inevitable." His words rang hollow, meant more for himself than for us. I realized then we weren't just 3 people anymore. We were fragments of who we used to be. The bond that had defined us was now a scar. The quiet aftermath stung sharper than rage. Emma looked at me, eyes red, whispering, "You don't know what this did to me." Her words carried guilt, sorrow, and something close to apology. Ryan stayed silent, his jaw clenched, hands shoved deep into his pockets. I said, "You both left me in the dark." My voice cracked, the weight of loneliness crushing me. Emma cried, "I never meant for it to be this." I wanted to believe her, but trust was already ashes. Ryan finally muttered. At least now you see me for who I am. His words weren't proud. They were empty, a confession more than a victory. The bond we once swore would last forever now lay in pieces too sharp to touch. I whispered, "We're finished." Ryan smirked faintly, but his eyes betrayed pain. "We were finished long before tonight," he said, and Emma's sobbing grew louder. She clutched her chest as if trying to hold her heart together. "I can't carry this," she whispered, trembling. The silence between us was heavier than the storm had ever been. Years of promises collapsed in that moment, and I knew we could never rebuild them. What once gave me strength now left me hollow. I turned away, whispering to myself, "We can't go back." The night's chaos left behind a silence so sharp it felt like a wound. Emma whispered, "I wish we could go back," her voice faint, fading into dawn. Ryan said nothing, his shadow long against the dim light. I whispered, "There is no going back," and the truth shattered whatever fragments remained. Emma wept, curling into herself, while Ryan stared into the horizon, too proud, or too broken, to admit what he lost. The storm had ended, but it left scars etched deeper than skin. I felt my chest hollow, knowing I was leaving more than them behind. I was leaving the boy who once believed in forever. The ruins of our friendship stood like a grave, and I walked away with no flowers to offer it. Dawn crept across the horizon, painting the sky with muted gray and gold, but it felt colder than any night before. I walked in silence, the echo of betrayal louder than the storm we survived. Emma's voice trembled. "I wish none of this happened." Her words drifted like smoke, fragile, dissolving in the air. Ryan followed at a distance, his shadow long, his silence sharp. I wanted to turn back, to scream again, but the weight in my chest pressed me forward. I whispered to myself, "Some scars never fade." Emma sobbed behind me, her cries breaking against the morning calm, but I didn't stop. Ryan muttered, almost to himself, "You'll never forgive me." His voice cracked, but I refused to answer. The dawn promised light, yet all I carried was the darkness they left inside me. The silence between us was a canyon, impossible to cross. Emma whispered, "Please, Alex, don't let this be the end." Her voice cracked, but I couldn't look at her. Ryan stood frozen, his eyes carrying the guilt he'd never admit. I said softly, "It ended the moment you both chose yourselves over us." Emma cried harder, her hands covering her face. Ryan muttered, "You'll hate me forever." I answered, "Hate is too weak for what you did." The words left my mouth like poison, and the air felt heavier with every breath. The friendship that once held me up had now buried me alive. There was no saving us anymore. The final words came not with anger, but with the quiet resignation of someone broken. I whispered, "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed every version of us we could have been." Emma sobbed louder, shaking her head, unable to answer. Ryan's lips tightened, his eyes flashing pain, but he didn't deny it. Silence fell heavy, suffocating, until Emma whispered, "I'll never forgive myself." My chest ached, but I knew forgiveness was no longer mine to give. I turned away, feeling the weight of years collapse into dust. Ryan's voice cracked one last time, "You'll never understand why." I didn't respond, because there was nothing left to say. The wound was carved permanent, and no words could close it. The last time I looked at them, I saw strangers wearing the faces of the people I once loved. Emma whispered, "We'll regret this forever." Ryan's silence confirmed her words, his eyes heavy with unspoken truths. I whispered, "Regret is all you'll have left." The weight of finality pressed against me, and I felt my chest hollow completely. Emma reached for me, her trembling hand falling back when I stepped away. Ryan exhaled, long and broken, but didn't move closer. The distance between us was more than physical. It was eternal. The bond we once had had turned to ash, scattered by choices that could never be undone. I walked away as the sun rose, but it didn't feel like a beginning. It felt like an ending carved into stone. My voice whispered into the dawn. They didn't just betray me. They betrayed every version of us we could have been. The words echoed inside me, sharp and final, leaving a scar I knew would never fade. Emma's sobs faded into the distance. Ryan's silence stayed heavy like chains, but I didn't turn back. I carried the weight with me, step after step, knowing it would never leave. This was the last chapter, not of them, but of me. The boy who believed in forever had died tonight, and in his place walked someone colder, wiser, and scarred.